Hey everyone, Chloe here. So today we're continuing the How Did I Know I Was Trans videos series. So last time I talked about, processing shame as a teenager and eventually realizing like these feelings of needing to live my truth as a woman are not going away. They're actually getting stronger and more frequent over time. So in today's video, I'm going to talk about how this increasing strength and frequency of these feelings, realizing that this is not a phase, how this just made me want to explode, and how I had to finally tell somebody something. So in today's episode, I talk about coming out to people as a crossdresser, because I couldn't handle describing it as anything more at that time. So, let's rewind back to about the age of 21 in the life of Chloe. At this point in my life, nobody knew about my dreams of wanting to be a woman, of wanting to wake up the next day as a woman, of how I would wear my mom's clothes frequently, of how I even wore some of my girlfriends' and friends' clothes without them knowing, at least so I thought. Nobody knew about any of this. And it actually took one observant girlfriend, I would say, noticing that some of her stuff had shifted around a few times while she was at work, and I was the only one that was around while she was at work. Eventually, after lots of prodding, she knew something was up. She probably had ideas in her head of what it was, but she wanted me to say it. Eventually, after lots of prodding, I, for the first time in my life at the age of 21, told somebody, my ex-girlfriend, that I was a crossdresser. And obviously, we now know that that is not the case. And back then I knew that was not the case. It was a much easier way to rationalize my feelings because being a crossdresser, describing it as that was something that could remain closeted. There was no permanent outward change. And honestly, at this time, I don't even think I've realized that coming out and living my life full-time as a woman was even an option for me. So I hadn't got to that point yet, but I knew that there was a lot more to what was going on in my mind than just being a cross-dresser, because I really just wanted to be a woman. Unfortunately, this experience did not go well. Essentially, this girlfriend, the first person I told, kind of made fun of me. And didn't want me to tell anyone. Kind of, in a sense, threatened the state of our relationship, that I could not tell anyone, that this needed to remain a secret between us. Nobody could know. And it was kind of these feelings of shame coming back again. Like, twice as hard in a way, because it's like she was ashamed of who I was, and she didn't want me to admit that to anyone outside of us because of that shame, which just kind of compounded on the shame that I still had hardly unpacked at all at this point in my life. Fast forward a little bit, this relationship didn't last. That definitely factored into the breakup, but there were a lot of other things going on there. Jump into another relationship. At this point in my life, I am a perfect serial monogamist because jumping from a relationship to relationship is a great way to avoid working on your own shit. Yay! But then that causes your relationships to frequently blow up because you bottle up your own shit, you never work on it, boom, relationship fails, then you go to the next one. It's a vicious cycle, it really sucks. Don't recommend it. A lot of people do it, but I definitely don't recommend it. Anyways, the next person I tell was my next girlfriend. Spoiler alert, this one did not go well either. It went okay when I told her, describing myself as a crossdresser, but then I later broke up with her, and I think as partially a way to get back at me, she very much twisted the story I told her. You know, it came from me telling her that I want to be a woman and I like to cross-dress, to her threatening to tell all of our mutual friends, and we had a lot, that I was a closeted gay man. And I understand why you might think somebody who's male presenting who says they cross-dress is gay, but I literally never told you that. So, implicit bias at work, we could say that. This is when I had the brilliant light bulb moment of, maybe I should tell friends. Maybe I should tell people I'm not romantically involved with. I told some of my best friends from back home, and they were all just like, cool, whatever. Told all three of them that I like to cross-dress, and they're just like, cool, we love you, we support you, no big deal. I'm just like, okay, cool, I can do this. So at this point in my life, I'm about 21 years old, and, you know, after this, probably the next person I tell is another girlfriend, and she was the first romantic partner I've had that was actually very supportive. You know, I told her much more than I had told any other previous partner because of that initial support. You know, like to wear women's clothes. Told her about how I had these dreams of being a woman, how I wanted to be a woman. She was actually the first person that I ever wore women's clothes on in front of. Because before that point in my life, it was always by myself. At this point in time, I'm about 22 years old, almost 23. And her support is probably one of the biggest things that really pushed me to eventually come out as trans. Being vulnerable with her about these feelings and these needs that I had in my life, this is the first time I really had a chance to do this. And it was the first time I really had a chance to like dig this stuff up and actually discuss it in a somewhat healthy way. And, you know, this started a process of me like reevaluating my entire life in terms of how I see myself and how I wanted to see myself in the future. And I'll talk about this more in the next video, but essentially this also kickstarted a period of increased isolation, increased depression, and suicidal ideation that really kicked me in the ass, so to speak, to where I had to make a literal life or death decision: transition or kill myself. And I'm going to go into more detail on that in the next video. Don't mean to drop that big bomb at the end of the video, but it's kind of one of those things sometimes when you dig up like really emotional baggage that sometimes it tends to get worse before it gets better. Because before, I was just stuffing this shit down and then never really letting it see the light of day. And then it starts to see the light of day, and I'm like, ooh, yay, cool. And then there's these layers that start coming out that I'm like, ooh, I didn't really want that to come out. And you start critically evaluating all this shit that you never really wanted to necessarily. But it eventually gets better because you're able to process it in a healthier way as opposed to just bottling it down and occasionally exploding out. And yeah, I'll talk about that in the next couple videos where, you know, processing these things, how things got worse before they got better, and how, you know, I sunk to a really low level, and in a way that is what really pushed me to come out, because I looked into my future and I did not like what I see. Growing old as a man sounded like the worst fucking thing imaginable for me. No offense to any people out there who are male identified that love being men. That just wasn't for me. So that's all I'm going to talk about in today's segment. Please comment below. I'd love to hear about your experiences, kind of processing your gender identity and gender expression. But after putting your comments down below, please share the video, please give it a thumbs up, please click the notification bell if you haven't done that already. Share with all your friends and family and pets. And as always, thank you so much for watching, and stay tuned for the next video. Bye now.